of everything. Let's hear your story.
Okay, so my name's Serena De Jesus. I was a little kid with no motor skills because I'm autistic. I didn't find out till I was 13. So I'm stumbling all over the place, not getting how to people per se until I turned, 13 and everything. And then, but I was always a fight fan since I was little. I loved Tekken, I loved anime, video games, and all that fun stuff. So as a kid, my reward every time I did well in school, like every Friday, I would rent videos. I know I just probably dated myself there a little bit. So
Absolutely.
I'd be getting anime, and my dad would be getting UFC, UFC on tape.
Mhm.
So I played as King all the time on Tekken and stuff, and I'm seeing Sailor Moon and Power Rangers. That's probably not helping me as a kid. And then I see the infamous Paul Herrera versus Gary Goodridge, or Gary Goodridge, excuse me, gets Herrera in a crucifix and just obliterates him. Just, and I'm like, oh my god, this looks like some sort of grappling transition that
Mhm.
you would see in Tekken and stuff like that. So I'm like, I was hooked, and I just kept watching Pride. I went to WC Wreckage, IFL, to Strike Force, and then on. Um, so I really loved it. I was doing some athletics when I was in high school, like weightlifting and softball, but it didn't feel the same, didn't feel great versus me training when I got out of high school. When I was going to college, I just fell in love with it. And then training turned to my first grappling tournaments, and my grappling tournaments turned to Muay Thai fights, and my Muay Thai fights turned into mixed martial arts. And I've been loving every step of the way.
Nice, very nice. Actually, funny that you would name drop Gary Goodridge. I had him on the show as well, and he actually explained his knockout of that first fight he had with Paul Herrera, and how he said that he just
Mm-hmm.
studied that fireman's carry, because that's what he said that his camp saw from Paul Herrera. He's like, he does the fireman carry. We have to figure out, how do we block this move? How do we block this move? And said that he was supposed to go for a submission attempt when he did the fireman's carry, but he ended up just
Mm-hmm.
thinking elbow, 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 and I mean the rest is history. As you saw a million like 7 or 8 elbows
Yeah.
to the head, but yeah. So now, your can you
Mm-hmm.
explain?
Just limp.
We talked a little bit before. I mean, like I said, a lot of people get autism confused, and they, there's only certain signs, and I mean, depending, there's variants. There's different signs of autism. A couple of friends of mine have autism and stuff like that. Can you explain your kind? Because again, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are uneducated, and they assume automatically that you don't talk to people, and you're shy. You don't, but it's not like that all the time.
Yeah, and all that.
Yeah.
No, and there's some things that, like, for example, before my diagnosis, I'd had horrible motor skills. I would trip and fall, and my shins would be bruised all the time. I can't help from all those times of falling. I would half wonder if that's why my shins are so calcified down. It sucks when I hit somebody else. So I have that. When I was younger, I only got so many types of emotions, and it wasn't that I was cold hearted, just like it didn't compute.
Yep.
So when I got my diagnosis of autism at 13, after running the gamut through pretty much what it felt like every single other diagnosis in the book,
Okay.
I had a case manager who came and worked with me and my family when I was 13 till I was 20,
Mhm.
working on various social skills and stuff, learning how to, communicate and be out and about the world. Um, so I'm 29 now, so I haven't even been a full decade without a case manager, but a lot of her lessons she gave me and all the work, it really paid off. So that's basically, so for me right now, like when people talk to me, they're like, she seems pretty normal until they start seeing me kind of shake a little bit, or when I start getting uncomfortable, I kind of try to slip out to thinking I'm being, shy or socially awkward. But it's upstairs, I kind of hear the ticker going down. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, I can only tolerate this much before I start kind of losing my composure. I don't want to do that in front of people. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
No.
So that's where I step out, or I do my own things. Like I always have my earphones in, so at least I have like one kind of stimuli to focus on for a little bit,
Okay.
so I can kind of reset myself and get back in it. it's these little kind of steps I take to kind of mask,
Hmm.
because for someone with low needs, meaning somebody on the spectrum doesn't have that many needs, just because it doesn't look like it's heavy doesn't mean the burden
Absolutely.
isn't heavy. And that's the biggest point. There's people like my sister, for example, who is moderate needs. And then you have your stereotypical cases you see in the media of what autism is. Like, it's a spectrum because it varies so
Hmm.
much from person to person to person. You meet me on the spectrum, I'm not going to act like my siblings. I'm not going to act like your neighbor down the street or anybody, who they know is autistic. We all are just a little bit different.
Yep.
And it's trying to see, and that's what throws people off, because when they hear of something, they think, oh, there's a set pattern on how it's supposed to be.
It's
So
not.
when things break that pattern, they're like, hold on, really? So it's not. It's just you have to look at the patterns, that little ticks that someone on the spectrum will have.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, I went through courses when I was in the police academy and stuff like that, and they had courses on dealing with a situation or a person like that. But like you said, I mean, everyone has their own little tick and stuff, and yeah, just because you go by the book doesn't mean, I mean, that's what you go through. Like, use common sense. Same
Hmm.
thing with my job now. Like,